So you're here at South by to give a talk about
Yes.
being a weirdo, which to me as an editor, like the word weird, I always strike it out of stories because it's so diffuse.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Totally.
So talk about what it means to be weird and what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I wrote a story for another publication or site called LinkedIn, which basically looked at kind of a lot of the most successful people in my life are very weird. There's this concept, that I wrote about, which is we do everything to create normal children, just fit in, do what you're told, get good grades. It's the bell curve. Then they graduate, and the first question they're asked is, why you? Why are you different? And basically the answer, I'm not. I'm normal, right? I'm a normal person.
Right.
And it's never been more dangerous to be normal. You have to be different, you have to stick out, you have to listen to your gut and speak your truth. And it's the only way to live, I think, a happy life, because you can only be who you are. You can't be someone else. And the more that you try to be normal, the more you try to fit in, the more miserable you are.
You look at these studies of happiness by country, and the happiest countries are always the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Finland, Norway, where conformity and homogeneity is the byword. So how do you reconcile happiness with nonconformity?
Well, if you look at why they're so happy, it usually comes down to social kind of functions of how they live, and the family unit and their friends, and how social they are as a people. So people who live forever and are the happiest typically are social creatures. That has nothing to do with whether you're normal or weird. Weird, in my mind, is being yourself, speaking your truth, being true to who you are. So I think I'm relatively weird, but I'm still, as you judge me, I would be somewhat on the normal spectrum.
Yeah, wearing a V-neck sweater.
But I speak about fear, and I've had heart surgery, and I tell people to quit their jobs, and my kids think I'm weird. I've gone to 172 fish shows, and I've lived my life based on kind of what I've wanted to do and the person I want to be. And when I look at people who really have excelled in life, there is a weirdness factor. There is I didn't conform, I marched to my own beat, I have my beliefs and I will defend them. They're oftentimes disagreeable. They will tell you what they think and maybe not back down. And I think that weirdness, that fearlessness of being able to live your life is what I'm talking about. It's not saying that everyone should go out and get a kind of a crazy mask and run around the street naked.
Right.
It is, do you conform to what social norms say? What the information influence? Oh, those people may know more. They're older. They have more information than me, so I'm going to follow them. Do you obey authority? We're hardwired to obey authority. So I look at that science, and I look at kind of the implications of it.
And how do you fit this theory that you're developing with what you do all day? Because Buddy Media, which is now part of Salesforce, has a big role to play in getting brands out there in social media.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're two different worlds.
Well,
One
that's
is
the irony.
buy my potato chips because you'll be great and you'll be like everyone else.
Yeah.
Or my toothpaste versus what you're talking about.
So this is the irony that I talk about is, I started a business that's all about how do you use social influence to sell products? How do you get people to buy products based on what their friends say? Birds of a feather flock together. If I like Frito-Lays, chances are my friends will like them. And what I look at when I look at Facebook, when I look at Twitter, it really scratches two itches. And I think brands need to understand this, and all marketers. And what it does is, we all want to fit in. We all want to be a part of a community. Whether you're in Sweden, New York, Palo Alto, Austin, Africa, you want to be in a community. And Facebook helps that, right? Because it brings communities together in many ways. At the same time, we want to stick out. So we want to be the same and be in a community, and that's natural. I don't want people to live solitary existences and die early. But at the same time, we want to carry our flag forward. We want to be different. And that's what Facebook does, right? You can fit in your community, but find the other 500,000 fish fans. Find the people who, when you post about crazy things you eat, they are like, I like that too. I like spreading that on my toast. Like, I can't believe you like that also. And it's that kind of conformity and differentiating, which is, as a brand, what you have to play into. So you look at a lot of movements that have been started by brands, and it's basically companies saying, we think different, right? Look at Apple. Apple's whole business is we're going to blow things up. We don't just make products. We start with thinking different, How we do that is we design beautiful products. What you buy happens to be a computer, happens to be a phone.
Right.
And so there have been great companies that have gotten on this weird bandwagon very early without you even knowing it.
I get resumes in all the time, like Stanford fellow, amazing internships at Facebook and Google.
Yeah.
They play tuba, in a symphony orchestra. They 3 sports. These people are working so hard to be great,
Yeah.
but they're not different.
Or are they? Like, I don't think you can put on a resume, you're not a sum of your experiences as an individual. You're not, oh, you went to Northwestern, you did this, you did this, you did that. That's who you are. But what you are is what people remember about you. So do they remember that you went to Stanford, or do they remember that you did a kick-ass story for Forbes that got massive traction?
Right.
And I think that you are only as good as how memorable you are. So it's unfortunately a curse to be named a Fred Davis or John Smith in a world where you can't be found on search engines, right, unless you murder people or something, and then you're like, oh, it wasn't me, I'm not that John Smith. But you have to be someone who, when they're like, oh, I know that person, I liked what they said, I liked those pants they were wearing, crazy glasses, he had heart issues, he had cross eyes, he had whatever, right? It's that difference.
Right.
And people don't expect us to be as kind of business people or just people, right? Politicians, entertainers, friends, perfect, right? You're not supposed to be normal and perfect.
Right.
We're okay with flaws. We're okay with flawed people. We like flawed people.
Rob Ford, mayor of Toronto.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to make any case, but you look at some of our past presidents who were had difficult times in office, who are now some of our most celebrated former presidents. Like, we like people who say I made a mistake, or I am flawed, or I'm different.
Right.
It's endearing, and that's when we're in this trust revolution where you have to be open and honest. You are who you are. When you make mistakes, you take responsibility as a business, as a person. Being weird, being different is, I think, the only way to excel.